And we give the floor to the first speaker, who will open the morning session of the second day, Lubélia de Fátima Travassos, the Theosophic community of Portugal, Ponta, Delgada, the island of San Miguel, Yuga, and the law of cycles. Lubélia de Fátima Travassos was born on the island of San Miguel. These are Azore Islands. She graduated from the Cambridge University. She is the English-speaking translator. She worked in international companies as a secretary, interpreter and translator, and also she worked as a translator and interpreter in New Zealand and Portugal trade company. She worked as a secretary and a translator. She's been the member of the Theosophic community since 1982. She founded the community named after Archangel Michael, and she has always been in contact with the Theosophic community on the continental Portugal. She has been publishing spiritual articles in her own city. She is the author of many studies, Theosophic studies, that cover the history of religions, esoterics, and mysticism. Pythagoras, his principles, mysticism, mathematics, and music. The secret of the Atlantida and Buddhism, the philosophy, spiritual philosophy, myths and reality, and also the natural medicine. These are just some of the works that Lubélia de Fátima Travassos has published, and we're very happy to welcome her with her report. We give her the floor.
Hello everybody. I'm going to speak about Kali Yuga and the law of the cycles. The Earth is at present time in the Iron Age of the dark area of Kali Yuga. That is, generally the period of bigger density within all cycles of the cosmic ages, in which all ages have their own finality and purpose. Being the Kali Yuga, the era we are crossing, the denser period of all cycles, and the one that causes the greatest suffering to the humanity. It shows we are attaining a limiting situation, and fortunately we are getting near to the exit point, although on our Earth's time is still far away to end, where it becomes necessary to come back to the source of life. Accordingly, with Bhagavata Purana, this is an age of human, cultural, social, environmental, and spiritual degradation, and by this reason is referred as the Dark Age, since the majority of the humanity has been very far from spirituality and God. The main essence of Kali Yuga has been the cause of dismissal between man and nature, that is causing the whole devastation of the modern world, taking to the loss of contact with the cosmic order, since the mind of humanity is fixed in the denser and material elements of the reality. It is usually an age where the wars, vices, and ignorance dominate, and it is getting destitute of all virtues. The leaders who have been governing the most of the nations are violent, corrupt, and exploring their people, becoming by this way a perverse world, where chaos, hunger, illness, destruction, excessive selfishness, materiality, iniquity, and a lack of respect from man by these fellow creatures are prevailing. The Kali Yuga age began when the avatar Krishna left his physical body exactly 5,000 years ago. The duration of the greater cycle of the Kali Yuga is 432,000 years, being this Kali the fourth and the denser one of the four yugas of our cosmic eras from the Hindu calendar, corresponding by analogy to the Greeks' Iron Age, in which period the moral values decline and the materiality surmounts the spirituality. The term Kali, it means black, refers to the goddess Parvati, consort attribute of Shiva, being responsible by the death of everything that is abject, rude, and decrepit. Fortunately, this is one of the shortest periods of the Iron Age, provided that 5,000 years has already passed since the beginning of this era, date in which Krishna left the earth. Everything that was foreseen to occur along of his time has been happening in a condensed form. According with the test from Volume 2 of the Secret Doctrine, Elena Blavatsky says Atlantis, the fourth continent of four root race, underwent two great disturbances which interfered and gave origin to an abrupt alteration on the degree of inclination of the axis of the Earth. As rapidly it had changed when the Earth was indeed raised once more out of the waters, as above, so below, and vice versa. The tradition says that there were gods on earth in those days, gods and not men, as we know them now. As will be shown in Volume 3 of the Secret Doctrine, the computation of periods in esoteric Hinduism refers to both the great cosmic and the small terrestrial events and cataclysms, and the same may be shown in respect to names. For instance, the name Yudhishthira, the first king of the Sake or Sakas, who opens the Kali Yuga era, which as the last 432,000 years, an actual king who lived 3,102 years before Christ, applies the name and all the great deluge at the time of first thinking of Atlantis. He is the Yudhishthira born on the mountain of the 100 peaks at the extremity of the world, beyond which nobody can go. And immediately after the flood, we know of no flood 3,102 years ago BC, not even that of Noah. For agreeably with Judeo-Christian chronology, it took place 2,349 years BC. This relates to an esoteric division of time and a mystery explained elsewhere, and may therefore be left aside for the present. Within the cosmic eras of the four Yuga cycles, there is a series of minor cycles, being the main ones connected to the phenomenon of precession of the equinoxes, moving backwards to the equinoctial point, in which the sun in the equinoxes rises at the vernal point, where the elliptical crosses the celestial equator, and stays within a fixed sign, marking the so-called zodiacal eras, which last 2,160 years, accomplishing a cosmic year of 25,900 to 20 years. The law of the cycles is one of the most complex and confused laws of the universe, and it is also one of the most important in the Theosophical doctrine. It exists because the cosmos itself has its existence ruled by periods of manifestation and rest, known as Manvantara and Pralaya. Inside the cycles there are infinite cycles, being 1 year a cycle, divided in months, which are divided in days, and the same ones in hours, which are also divided in minutes and in seconds afterwards, and so successively. All this corresponds to cycles of time, as though reincarnation is the great law of life and progress, which is twained together with the law of the cycles and the law of karma, by which the three laws work together, and in the practice is almost impossible to dissociate the reincarnation from the law of the cycles. Within periods regularly repeated, individuals and nations come back to the earth through defined currents, giving place to the renaissance in the terrestrial globe of arts, of a new civilization, with the same individuals that used to be in it on other epochs. Once nations and people are connected by strong invisible chains, a great number of human beings moves slowly and jointly, and they meet again in different epochs, emerging always as a new civilization, a new ethnic group, as far as the cycles go through its rounds. Consequently, the souls which took part on the whole civilization will come back and will bring with them the former civilization in the memory of its essence. Along that journey, there are two situations in which both minor and major cycles of avatars bring, for the benefit of humanity, great personages who regulate from times to times the human race. Besides the cycle of avatars, includes several minor cycles. The greater ones were marked by the appearance of Rama and Krishna between the Hindu people, of Mans between the Egyptians, of Zoroaster between the Persians, and Buddha between the Hindus and other Oriental nations as well. Buddha was the last one of the great avatars, and he is a greater cycle than Jesus of Jews, since his teachings are practically the same ones of Buddha, as they embrace the same thing that Buddha has taught to the ones who instructed Jesus. A new and great avatar will come, and he will correspond to a combination of orientations from Krishna and Buddha, which used to be from military, civil, religious, and occult order. Buddha, which administered the ethics, religiosity, and the mystical part, was followed by Jesus. As far as Mohammed is concerned, he was a minor intermediary and a civil, military, and religious leader guided to instruct a determinate part of the race. Nevertheless, during the intercession of great cycles, dynamical effects occur too, which can change the surface of the planet due to the alteration on the poles of terrestrial globe, or another cataclysm that is due in its majority to the behavior of human being in relation to the environment and the planet. Indeed, the human being is a great dynamo which can produce, store, and irradiate energy, and when a great number of beings, which constitutes the human race, produces and distributes energy, a dynamic effect resulting from matter of the globe can be sufficiently and so powerful to give origin to cataclysms. In fact, can prove it by the vast and terrible disturbances that have been happening throughout the planet, by the many earthquakes and ice formation as far as geology is concerned. In a general way, cataclysms occur in the beginning and at the end of the great cycles, since the principal laws which regulate the effects are the ones of karma and reincarnation, which are accomplished in accordance with the cyclic law. The human being is not only ruled by those laws, but also every atom of matter is ruled by them, and the whole of physical matter is constantly suffering alterations at the same time than the human being. However, as far as the animal form is concerned, the cyclic law affirms that certain animal forms now extinct, as well as some human forms not known yet, but we suspect they will return again within their own cycle, and likewise certain human languages, which are considered dead languages, will be active again and be used on the due cyclical time. Attending to the philosophy of the cyclical laws, we conclude the earthquakes can be produced by two general causes, being the first one the lowering or raising of matter which is under the crust of the earth due to the heat and steam. The second cause is due to the electric alterations which affect the water and the earth at the same time. When the earth becomes fluid, it stays, at the mercy of enormous and violent landslides and displacements of water with great and small waves. Likewise, floods of great extensions are caused by displacements of water due to the lowering and raising of soils, which combined with electric alterations are induced to a great discharge of humidity. Concomitantly, the same happens with the fires in a planetary scale, from electrical and magnetic alterations at the atmosphere, and when the humidity is withdrawn from the air, this one not only is transformed in an ardent mass, but also suffers an abrupt expansion from the magnetic solar center into 7 centers, burning by this way the terrestrial globe. As the cataclysms provoked by the ice, they do not only happen because the sudden alteration of poles, but also by the lowering of temperature due to the alterations of the tepid currents in the sea and the warm magnetic currents from inward the earth. The first ones are known by the science, while the last ones are not. The more inferior layer of humidity is also at once frozen, transforming suddenly vast areas of soil covered by several layers of ice. As well as there are small cycles of time, there are also the great cycles of cosmic time, which not only rule the existence of the galaxies, but also the solar system and the planets as well, since the cycle of the universe is calculated in thousands of billions of years, the cycle of the galaxies in hundreds of billions of years, the cycle of the solar systems in dozens of billions of years, and the cycle of the planets is calculated in unities of billions of years. The basic unity for the computation of the cosmic time is the kalpa, which comes to 4,320,000 million years, which are subdivided on the 4 yugas with the following directions. Krita or Satya Yuga, the Golden Age, contains 1,728,000 years. The Tetra Yuga, Silver Age, contains 1,296,000 years. The Dvapara Yuga, Bronze Age, contains 864,000 years. Kali Yuga, Iron Age, contains 432,000 years. Nevertheless, within each one of these cycles, the same order is repeated. That is, within the Kali Yuga, we have a small Golden Age, a small Silver Age, a small Bronze Age, and a small Iron Age, inside the Great Iron Age, which is indeed the period we are actually crossing. These computations come from the Upanishads section titled Computation of Ashura Maya, whose antiquity is immemorial. In accordance to a test drawn out from the volume 2 of Secret Doctrine of Helena Blavatsky, whose original composition is in Sanskrit, belongs to the Purana, an antique book of Vishnu, the second person of the Trimurti Hindu, written 5,000 years ago. The same shows us a description from the times of the Kali Yuga. There will be contemporary monarchs reigning over the earth, kings of churlish spirit, violent temper, and ever addicted to falsehood and wickedness. They will inflict death and human children and cows. They will seize upon the property of their subjects, or, according to another reading, be intent upon the wives of others. They will be of limited power. Their lives will be short, their desires insatiable. People of various countries intermingling with them will follow their example, and the barbarians, being powerful in India, in the patronage of princes, whilst purer tribes are neglected, the people will perish or as the commentator has it, the Meccas will be in the center of areas in the end. Wealth and pity will be decreased day by day, until the world will be wholly depraved. Property alone will confer rank. Wealth will be the only source of devotion. Passion will be the sole bond of union between the sexes. Falsehood will be the only means of success in litigation, and human will be objects merely of sensual gratification. Eternal types will be the only distinction of the several orders of life. Dishonestly Anyana will be the universal means of subsistence. Weakness, the cause of dependence, menace, and presumption will be substituted by learning. Liberality will be devotion. Mutual accent will be marriage. Fine clothes will be dignity. He who is the strongest will reign. The people unable to bear the heavy burdens, Karabara, lord of taxes, will take refuge among the valleys. Thus, in the Kali age, shall decay constantly proceed until the human race approaches its annihilation, a pralaya. When the close of the Kali age shall be nigh, a portion of that divine being that exists, of his own spiritual nature, Kalki Avatara, shall descend upon earth, endowed with the 8 superhuman faculties. He will re-establish righteousness upon earth, and the minds of those who live at the end of Kali age shall be awakened and shall be as pellucid as crystal. The men who are thus changed shall be as the seeds of human beings, and shall give birth to a race which shall follow the laws of the Krita age, or age of purity, as it is said, when the sun and moon and the lunar asterism Tishya and the planet Jupiter are in one mansion, the Krita or Satya age shall return. And Blavatsky continues, whether right or wrong, with regards to the later prophecy, the blessing of Kali Yuga are well described and fit in admirable even with that which one sees and hears in Europe and other civilized and Christian lands in the full 19th and at the dawn of the 20th century of our great era of enlightenment. The description made by Lena Blavatsky in 19th century alluding to India, it is not so different than what it is actually passing, in a more aggressive way, in our 21st century and third millennium, the one of elucidation, where inclusive in India have been happening very atrocities things, not only in India but also all over the world. We have been observing the density of the Kali Yuga, which has been devastating the whole planet, provoking a great human suffering due to the several calamities which have been falling down over the earth, and where we can see the governments of the majority of nations subjugating their people, where the exploration, corruption, and violence, and the lack of scruples from man by other men dominates, etc. Very wrong are the ones who said that with the end of the cycle of the Maya calendar as being the end of an era, which announced the false end of the world on the 21st December 212. The Kali Yuga has also reached its end, because they are getting blind to reality. The disturbance we have been observing throughout the world of different nature, it is synonymous that the end of the Kali Yuga is going to happen in a very short time, accordingly with cosmic computation, but in our present time is still indeed very far away to happen. Computation of cosmic dates is impossible to be compared to our dates in our Earth time. Man has to show yet a great changing of his behavior, not only in relation to humanity, but also in his connection to nature, as well though the cosmic Though the cosmic computations are being accelerated, great alterations and crises are still to go, and they will observe on the earth until we are able to enter in a small cycle of Satya, that means golden age, inside of the great Kali Yuga. Indeed, the date referred above, 21st of December of the year 212 of the end of a cycle, is due to an interpretation lack of coordination of dates, accordingly with our calendar and the story of Maya calendar, which is not credible, once the same was based in pseudo-astrological interpretations from a universal professor, José Arguelles, who has indicated himself in writing many things about the Maya people. As it is an interpretation of a Maya astrology, it came to create this type of information. We have knowledge and gave origin to a collective alienation of false prophets. Theosophy does not foresee any complete end of the humanity. It tells us that in a remote past there were several periods and cyclical cataclysms with drastic geological alterations involving devastation of several areas in the world that were swallowed by the waters due to an inclination of the axis of the earth, which destroyed continents, civilizations, and the last deluge must have taken place about 10,000 years BC. Due to an extreme dislocation of the terrestrial orb, whose description can be found in the Book of Enoch. The cause of this last catastrophe was due to the degeneration and the decadence of the Atlantis race, who started to canalize their occult powers for destructive and egoist purposes, as well as the profanation of occult forces for their own benefit and selfishness that have driven them to the black magic. The destruction of the old continents did not carry through to the complete extinction of the races. Once the populations who have escaped could survive, when migrations took place for different parts of the world, and they were guided by spiritual chiefs and priests before the catastrophe started. Besides, there were also times in which they went to other lands and developed sumptuous empires, and in other ones they got mixed by the surviving native populations from the old continents of Lemuria. In fact, prophecies are made basically in warning to the humanity, because it man follows an anti-natural way, transgressing the cosmic and divine laws. He subjects himself to obtain painful gatherings. Indeed, man is the main cause of all the great cataclysms, for not taking conscience of his actions, as he is constantly contaminating the levels of resources that the planet has got, which are the greatest cause of cataclysms, earthquakes, hurricanes, and other destructive processes. Man has been the main causer of the terrible events which are in progress, by the excessive draining of natural gas from the earth, by the deviation of the water courses, and also by the uncontrolled extraction of petrol. Therefore, the prophecies are always conditioned. If man does not oppose himself to the wrong way he takes, many bad things can happen to him. It means, if man is able to correct his steps and walk correctly in this world, on the time that a calamity is announced, and the fact of it did not happen, does not mean the prophet failed, but the prophecy had effect and humanity was able to correct what was wrong. Prophets themselves say that prophecies are not definite, as Saint-Germain said, since they depend on man to change them and nothing happens due to his good behavior. Crazes that are created by man subsist so that they can heal them, being everything on the hands of the man, and it is changeable as well.
Уважаемая Любилия, огромное спасибо. С нами
Dear
была член Theosophical
Lubélia, thank you so much. We had a representative from Portugal, from the city of Ponta de Gala. Dear Lubélia, thank you so much for presenting such material, and you have gathered a lot of historical material. And it's really important to know history from different sources. But we do understand that there are cycles that, according to evolution, can bring their own changes, otherwise the evolution would stop. So after Kali Yuga, we have Sahya Yuga. It follows, it's like the consequence, it's the spring of the consciousness of humanity. And also the epochs, they change each other. We know that it's the epoch of Aquarius, the mother of the world, of a woman, and we congratulate you with this day. It's amazing that this presentation has coincided with this day, with a celebration. So we congratulate all the guests and the speakers, and we have so many participants. Lubélia, thank you so much for your report. Indeed, we're going through the significant changes according to the evolution cycles, and we can live in Sahya Yuga right now, and we wish all of you to do that. Thank you so much.